It's good to be with you again. My name is Attah-Mensah, and this is how I welcome you to Footprint. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with the man we have referred to in the past as the gentle giant, the former president of the Republic of Ghana, President Agyekum Kufuor. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. Like we said, we have the man we used to refer to as the gentle giant, the ex-president, President Agyekum Kufuor, the man who has written his name in the annals of our history as a republic. He has walked the walk, he spoke, and he walked, and he lived it. And now he's, should I say, on retirement, but he's at a place where he can reflect and see the Ghana that he helped build. So welcome with me as we have a conversation with President Kufuor. President, I salute you.
I salute you too.
It's good to see you.
I'm happy seeing you again.
And it's very quiet here, and I'm sure that the atmosphere is very conducive for reflection.
I would say so, but what do you expect of the abode of an old man? Must be quiet and gentle.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So on a daily basis, how when you wake up, what's your day like? Your typical day like?
I can't sleep before midnight.
Okay.
And why? Because I keep on listening to news and watching,
following what's going on.
Whatever is going on around the world.
That's correct.
And then somehow by 6, I'm up.
Wow. But
again, it's habit.
That's what I was going to say. There's nothing has changed. That's been you.
Habit, because I've done it over the decades.
That's correct.
And so to listen to news, talk shows, and sometimes music.
Wow.
Just to keep myself.
Music. What kind of music do you listen to?
All types.
Like?
All types.
Favorites?
All types.
Local?
Again, depending, local and international.
Oh, okay.
Local, yes.
Who will be some of your, regular?
Well, I don't know if you didn't notice that we've known each other for a long time. In fact, I could claim that I was there
when we
at the launch of Citi FM.
That's true. That's very
true. That
true.
time you didn't have television.
No.
But yes,
that's true.
We've been interacting then.
That's
since
true,
then.
Sir.
I'm patron of the Winneba Youth Choir. You know that.
Of course,
I've been patron since the 1990s.
Yes. And when Dechi was there. That's correct.
And also Amachi Dede, for instance. And the high life generally.
Oh, yeah.
High life generally. I love high life. And also the traditional music.
Of course. I mean, you are a traditionalist, And so, when you cast your mind back, and I mean back to when you were in Prempeh College, did you have any promptings about leadership, your future leadership role?
That was colonial times.
Yes.
Well, Prempeh, I left Prempeh 58. But colonial times, yes, because we started, Ghana, Gold Coast was launched into active politics from the boycott times, 48, and then into the founding of CPP. I wasn't ever CPP though. I
like the emphasis.
Yes, but the CPP really generalized partisan politics. Before CPP, there was UGCC.
That's correct.
But that was like the elite or elitist party. The professionals and some chieftains. And
mostly lawyers.
Lawyers and all that. But they brought Nkrumah in to be general secretary to hook their party to the grassroots.
Okay.
And Nkrumah stayed with them. Within a year or two, he outsmarted them.
And he took the grassroots away.
He took the wind out of their sails. And then with the formation of the CYO, the youth organizations, bringing in people like late Kofi Kwaku Baku's daddy, smart man, Krobodise from Kumasi, Welbeck, and people like them.
Welbeck was gone, right?
Welbeck, I think Fante.
Okay.
But Fante, they were sort of collection from around the country. And with K. Bedema, a very charismatic person, polyglot, spoke all the languages, very handsome. So even when Nkrumah got landed in prison, 49-50, they had formed their party, 49 CPP. Bedema took over and canvassed for Nkrumah to win. Even at the heartland of Accra.
Wow.
Bokom area.
Yeah.
That's what caused the British to free Nkrumah to become leader of government business. I was then around 48 was when I got to 10. But we were a bit late.
Preparing to go into secondary school.
Yes.
So you were born in Kumasi?
Kumasi, through and through, yes.
Through and through. You went to Prempeh College. I mean, I think that's written all over.
Yes.
What were your experiences in Prempeh when you went to Form 1? What were you thinking?
We were talking leadership. I was born into leadership because, if you like, let me use some English, the confluence. My father was the Oyukuhine of Kumasi, the head of the royal clan in Kumasi.
In Kumasi, yeah.
My mother was a Pajahima of Kumasi. A Pajahima is a princely Santinese sons, Pajah line. My mother was the queen mother, or Obapenyin of Apajah. I was born the brother-in-law of Asante. My sister, my first sister.
That's Opokuware.
No, Prempeh the second.
Oh, before
Opokuware became Santehene in 1970. Yeah. But Prempeh the second, Santehene from 31. Yeah. I married my mother's firstborn, who is still alive now, about 97 or so. Napo's grandmother.
Oh, wow.
That's my first sister. Married to Prempeh. I was born 38. When I became aware, they were. And in a way, I grew up in Manshia Palace.
Yes.
In those days, there were the traditional authority courts. My father had his own police person, guard officially, native authority police. In my mother's house, Kobia court, again police, with the registrar of the court. My father had his registrar. And then my brother-in-law was the overlord of all. And every Monday, Thursday, you saw all of what used to be Asante then. And then, in those days, Asante included what is Asante today, and
Brahafo, yeah.
So all these people came in and out. Time I was crawling, growing, seeing every day visiting my father's house.
You were born straight
that's
into
what
it.
I'm confluence of.
You are privileged.
And yes, that one, I have to say it. So on hindsight, I would say I saw leadership at work from birth. Grew into it. And so time I went, and I started school in Kumasi Government School, which was again, you see even the structure.
Yeah.
Gadisbeck built it.
Yeah.
And
where is that, Ashtown?
No. It's the same. If you know the Freemason temple near the Anglican Cathedral, that's the landmark. Or Town Hall, Prempeh Assembly Hall.
The Freemason, yeah.
You see that?
Yeah, Attah-Mensah Secondary School around down there.
Not Attah-Mensah. Attah-Mensah is another quarter of Kumasi. But that place, that school was done to attract Ashanti. And can you believe it? Just a primary school, elementary school. It had 3 football teams.
Oh.
I don't think there was any school in the whole of Gold Coast that volley pitch, cricket over, everything was there.
Wow.
With a duck pond.
So that's class 1?
From class 1
up until
to standard 3. It went to standard 7. But me, standard 3, they moved me 51 to Citi boarding school.
Wow.
Which used to be part of the Wesley College system. You see, if you know Wesley College.
Yeah, I know Wesley College.
Wesley College stands on a small hill with Mofretro Girls School, one side, and Citi boarding school used to be the other side. But somehow, around 49-50, the Methodists decided to move the boys away from
Okay.
That compound to Ekropong, 10 miles out of town. And so in my time, I was taken to Osei Tutu 51.
Okay.
When I think I turned 11, 12. And so 3 years there, and then 54 to Prempeh College.
Good. Do you recall some of the people that you met when you entered Prempeh College, who you have encountered growing up?
Yes, when I went to Form 1. The Prempeh was founded 49. Again, it's a very interesting formation because it was the Methodist Church of Ghana, Presbyterian Church of Ghana, and then the Asantehene. They came together, decided to do what I would describe as the first secondary school for Asante.
Okay.
Till then, the Ashanti youth would migrate to the coasts. At the Sadal, Fansipim, Achimota Academy for secondary education.
Right.
So around 49, and I left out the government, the colonial government was also part of.
Involved in
setting
up Prempeh College.
It was the colonial government that decided or convinced the Asantehene then to name the school after himself, Prempeh.
Wow.
Because that area of Kumasi was called, it's near Kusuntresu, but the area has a traditional name.
Okay.
So Timfor then, when they agreed to do the school, gave them a huge tract of land and said, unknown. The school, the area is called unknown.
Unknown. Okay.
The chief commissioner of Ashanti, the British, said, no, this Prempeh, name it after yourself. And then the Methodists and Presbyterians agreed to come aboard. And they sent, for the first headmaster, a British teacher at Mfanspim called Pearson. Reverend Pearson was sent to found the school. Okay. So he took some students who
From
should have gone to Mfanspim. And the Methodist Presbyterians also brought some people from Krobodimasi. Presec. And then they deliberately picked some very smart youth from around Kumasi and Asante, 50 of them, and they all turned out to be like stars in the national service.
Remember some of them?
The one who I became friends with. In fact, the first school prefect I met there called Asani from Keta.
Called who?
Asani.
Asani.
I think he became managing director of graphic or general manager of graphic newspaper.
Yeah.
Was head school prefect when I went 54. They were already from 6 or and then Ashiabo, who became governor of the central bank.
Oh, okay.
And then Deputy Governor Sapomanu, who happens to be alive now. He should be about 87, 88 now. And then Professor Kofi Abua, urologist at medical school. I think he's retired, but he's still alive. There are so many of them, medicals, in office, agriculture. One became like the CEO, chief director of the TAFO Research
Institute.
And then another was forestry commissioner, Tufo, all of them.
Right.
A physicist, Professor Kofi Wiafi, brilliant man. I don't know if he's still around. So these were like, and for
it's amazing how you remember all these names.
Because it was quite a small school.
Okay, so
our population was not bigger than 600 from Form 1 to Form 6. So we knew each other.
But it's been decades.
Oh, but it was impressionable times for boy 11. At that time I was 14 or so.
Yeah. So you did Form 1 up until Form 5?
Form 5.
And did you do sixth form there?
I passed so well for sixth form. But those days, you pass your sixth form, and then they would interview you to be picked for. They were very careful in selecting.
Who goes to sixth form, yeah.
But the whole of Ghana, I was arts person.
Yeah.
And in that year, I think I was in the first 10 throughout the country. West African examination, we were told then. One subject, for instance, there were only 5 people who got A's in the whole of West African geography.
Wow.
And Prempeh had 2 of them.
Oh, wow.
I was one. And the other one, Mr. Bichim, is a lawyer. He was a civil servant, worked in the Foreign Ministry, now was practicing. I think he's still around.
What was his name again?
Bichim.
Oh,
Bichim, yeah.
Okay.
He too, I believe, got A. But the point is, in the school, I was like the tops for geography then. Tops for Latin, tops for...
I was going to say that you were tops for a lot of things.
Yes.
And you were very active in sports.
Well, my size and height. So I was champion for school throwing, discus and shot put.
Yes.
And of course I enjoyed soccer. Not that I was a star player, but I featured in other things, table tennis.
Yeah. So, Papa, after Prempeh College, where did you move to?
Well, I should have entered any secondary school in Ghana for 6th form. But family decided I shouldn't waste time. I believe with my results, even O-levels, they thought I was ready to enter law for barrister's training. So 59, I was sent to London, family, and truly got enrolled at Lincoln's Inn. You know, to become a barrister in Britain, I should say England and Wales, 4 Inns of Court, you must be enrolled in one of them. They look at your qualifications. In those days, things like Latin and history mattered, and English, of course. So Lincoln's Inn admitted me. I arrived in London, I think 30th April. By June, Lincoln's Inn had accepted me. And so I was worked like a mule. Asked, worked day and night. By 61, I had qualified as a barrister. 1 year, 8 months.
Wow.
I was a barrister before I went to Oxford University for the normal degree course.
Wow. So you went through.
I used my 6th form period to do the professional law.
Wow. Before you went to do
Oxford accepted me for law. I did my first year, the law moderations, as they call it, because without that, they may send you out. But after that, and this is to show that all along I somehow was thinking politics. After the first year, I told my director of the college that I wanted to shift from law to do philosophy, politics, and economics. Even though I was doing well academically, Oxford, yes.
But that was a combination for the elite.
That's what
philosophy.
They especially fashioned this thing for most of their leaders.
Yeah.
Prime ministers did that study. Even till now, this man, Boris Johnson, did it. Cameron did it. Tony Blair did it. Margaret Thatcher, PP, is the elite. So I said I wanted to do.
So you wanted to do PP, but you knew where you're going.
I perhaps instinctively I thought it might come in handy. My college rector, a nice old professor, he became vice chancellor of Oxford University, even called Casey Ware. When I said I wanted to see her, I was wondering what for. I couldn't tell him everything, but I said that's my decision. So they said, all right, try it 2 years. They wouldn't let me use the 3 years because I didn't have any knowledge of economics, philosophy, but I felt I needed to stretch my mind. So they relented, he and the law tutor. I said, okay, but 2 years.
Wow.
And thankfully I managed to sail through 2 years. So 64, I got my degree.
Good. At which time you had your...
I was a barrister.
Wow.
In fact, I had come back to Ghana 62 to get my seniority at the bar. That is important. So I registered here. I was called to the bar here 62. I called to a bar in Britain 61. Came to Ghana when there was a vacation. And I was at the High Court here or in Accra. I was called, registered. So when you are talking seniority in Ghana now, by 2-3 years time, I would be like 60 years standing as a barrister. In Britain, next year or 2001, yes, I would be 60 years standing barrister.
So you were a lawyer before you went to do PPE, and then graduated in '64. Your first degree.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are talking to President J. Kufuor, and we've gone through quickly his education because there's a lot to talk about in as time unfolds. We'll take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll go into how he got himself back into Ghana and how he got into politics. We'll be back. Welcome back to the program. This is Footprints on Citi TV, and I'm here with ex-president J. Kufuor. Amazing. I mean, he remembers everything. I'm sure he even remembers his school anthem in the Prempeh College.
I wasn't ever strong
singing
and things like that. So, but I enjoy music always.
Yes. So, Papa, after school in the UK, most people at the time would want to stay and find some work to do. What happened to you?
Well, I got employed in the City of London. City, the financial capital perhaps of the world.
Well, City.
City. In fact, it was Commercial Bank.
Oh, okay.
The office there.
Oh, the Ghana Commercial Bank.
They employed me as a manager and legal officer. So I was getting more pay, 64, than the regular managers.
Yeah.
And given my age and everything, it was of course, I should tell you, I got married quite young.
Oh,
62. I think I must have been 23, a bit straight from the bar. I met this young lady who had also done nursing in Scotland.
Wow.
And just sheer coincidence, she was moving to Oxford to do the midwifery at the University Hospital, just as I was also going to Oxford for my degree course.
So you helped
and
her
so we
do
met
the
in
midwifery.
London. We met in London, and then after a year's courting, we decided to marry.
Wow.
We married 62. 61, we met 62. I was already a barrister, so I felt a bit big.
That's all. But I mean, a barrister at 23, a foreigner, I mean, it's a big deal.
22 before 23, and we married.
Wow.
And time I left Oxford, we had 2 children already. Well, first one, we had one in Oxford, the chief who is now an old man. And then when we got to London, we got our own house in Golders Green, nice old house. So we had the second child, Anama. But just then, with all the benefits and privileges, a message came from Ghana, my mother. We were 9 children, but all scattered around the world. The first, my sister, I told you about, Santa, his wife, had moved to London. Her 2 children were schooling there. And the following, Professor Kufuor, late Professor Kufuor, chemistry,
KNUST,
was somehow found himself in exile in London. He's a chemist, so he was working. The third one, Mrs. Dodu, whose husband became the registrar of Legon, were also here. And down the line, there wasn't anyone of the family left. So my mother, very strong old woman, sent a family friend who was coming to London to tell me that if I called myself a lawyer and I had finished my university, I should come back and work. Just to avoid any debate, she sent through this family friend tickets by ship MV Oreo for me, my wife, and 2 kids, first class in those days. So I'm not asking you to buy your tickets.
This is it.
Come back home and work.
Your wife agreed.
She's a good wife. So she obliged, followed me. Then we went to Liverpool, came by boat. We got here January 65. Commercial Bank had expected I would go to work with them. Yeah. By the time the ship got to Tema, the family was ready to virtually
fetch you back to Kumasi.
We got to Kumasi, and after all the reception, I was told, look, you're a barrister, aren't you? I said, then please work as a lawyer. And then before I knew, Victor Osu, late Victor Osu,
yes,
the Chambers of Kumfuor, and Victor and his family and my family have related from ancient times. So Victor's Chambers, Kumfuor Chambers, well, I had to oblige.
That was in Kumasi?
Kumasi. I went there to practice with Victor Osu, another senior lawyer called Osu Yao. And so that was it. And it was a good experience because even though I had been called to the bar 61, I hadn't
experienced
the
real... Okay.
I hardly knew any court. I had never used to go to court. So I was virtually forced into pupillage to work with Victor. And of course, because of the closeness, family relations, he exposed me to practice, court.
At that time, Victor was a big name in Kumasi.
At that time, his chambers arguably was either the best in the whole of the country or one of the very best. So he had big cases, and I saw how the methodical and very serious man for work. And he didn't spare anything to prepare the cases. If it meant seeking an opinion from some of the retired old lawyers in Britain, you go at a fee and get the opinion. So he was a very solid practitioner, and I got exposed to that. We worked for exactly a year. Then the 66 coup happened, and then the NLC invited him to become the Attorney General, if you would remember. I don't know how old were you then, 66?
Well, I wasn't born.
Look at that.
Born, man. But you talk about the NLC.
NLC, National Liberation
But
Council.
that also has something to do with your family.
Well, I'm telling you, my family was scattered. So that opportunity gave people to come back home. And but I was there. I was in Kumasi then as a young lawyer in Victor's chambers. And Victor, once he became Attorney General of Ghana, left the chambers to Osu Yao, was more senior, and then me. So when the students erupted, they rebelled against, for instance, Tech. Later, P.Baf was Vice Chancellor, but then there was a commission of inquiry and all that. The students came to our chambers for us to appear for them before the Manual Planch Commission, which was probing Tech and our people. My senior lawyer partner, Osu Yao, naturally was the lead counsel, but Osu Yao was a bit temperamental, and somehow he argued with Justice Manual Planch, the commissioner, to such a point that Osu Yao then refused to even lead. Left the commission, recused himself, and I was left to handle the
case.
The counsel for the students. I was doing it, but by then, the whole country was so suffused with politics. And it was burning in me that I would also find my way into active politics. Along the way, the then town clerk of Kumasi, a solicitor called Attah-Mensah, who had been trained, purposefully to be like town clerk. When town clerk in British parlance is like city manager. These days, everybody calls himself mayor.
Yeah.
Mensah Bonsu had succeeded. Again, very happy coincidence. Late Dr. Then he wasn't late. Dr. Chamatin, Alex Chamatin, Alain Chamatin's father, was the first, I believe, Ghanaian town clerk of Kumasi after the British. And after him, Mensah Bonsu succeeded him. And Mensah Bonsu, a solicitor, trained and was I think either town clerk of Kensington in London or deputy town clerk.
Himself?
Himself. And from there became the town clerk. But he didn't get on well with the CPP.
In Kensington?
Kensington. High Street, Kensington, I think. Colonial times I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A brilliant solicitor, Ghanaian. So he became the town clerk of Kumasi. But around 66, 67, I had so much trouble with the outgoing CPP, Kumasi City Council authorities. And along the way, there was a British solicitors firm in Kumasi, J.J. Peel, that represented the corporate entities like Barclays, Boise, Asante Goldfields. And they were moving out. And quietly, Mensah Bonsu bought their chambers from them. And so I saw the vacancy coming there. I talked with him. I said I was interested. He said, okay. It was a public office that had to be advertised and applied for. So about 4 or 5 lawyers applied to take. Of course, my application also went. And then somehow I was given the position. At the time I became town clerk of Kumasi, I was about 27, 20. But it gave me the platform to show
what you can do.
Yes.
Who at the time was KCC, right?
Kumasi City Council.
And you became the town clerk.
Yes.
So
67, 68, 69, I was managing Kumasi at that young age. And it impressed people. On the interim management committee were people like Leopoku Wari, who became Asantino 70,
yes,
was on it. Dr. Selby,
Johnny Selby
was on it. Mr. A.S.Y. Ando, who was registrar of Tech,
yes.
Heavyweights. They were all there, and I was the chief CEO of the place.
Wow.
Working with all these big people.
So at this time, KCC was still at the current place?
Well, yes. And I found myself, that too exposed me to administration. Because I had something like 4,000 workers under me.
Wow.
With top personnel like medical officer of health for the city engineer, city treasurer, city planner, all of them. They came under the town clerkship.
That helped you really to understand the construct of our cities
administration and also into government.
That's true. That's true.
Working with bylaws, making laws for the administration. So 3 years, and thankfully, 3 years, there wasn't any trouble at all. Managing the market.
Which years again?
67, 8, 9. Okay. Because 9 was when I got elected into Parliament.
Yes.
I left it. And because of how things worked under me, people didn't have any qualms at all saying, this guy can do it, let him do it.
So
So I got elected, of course, once you seek election, I got elected into Parliament, 69.
Which constituency?
Attah-Mensah. I should have done it in Kumasi, but 68, the Constituent Assembly, I wanted to be a member of. Dr. Alex Chematin, who had been appointed by NLC as the local government commissioner, and who also hailed from Kumasi, who had been town clerk of Kumasi earlier, and who was like an uncle to me.
Of course.
Expressed interest to represent Kumasi at the Constituent Assembly.
Oh, okay.
And even though I was town clerk, I couldn't really think of myself as taking a position against him. So I decided to move to Attah-Mensah, which incidentally is the district with our home villages.
Yeah. I mean, now it's almost part of Kumasi now.
It is Kumasi. When the president talks of Greater Kumasi.
Greater Kumasi.
And in any case, now Attah-Mensah has been divided into about 3 constituencies. Districts, not just constituencies. Districts. Chumango Bieja, north, south, and I think central also. But in my time, it was the whole place.
Well,
big.
Population has increased as well.
Oh, might be over 200,000 or so.
Wow. And how was it like? So, which party?
Oh, naturally, Buzia's party.
Buzia's party.
I should tell you another part. Things that come together. So, on hindsight, you think it's destiny. Because 1960, when I was preparing for the finals of the bar examination in London.
Yeah, in the UK.
In the UK. That time, Professor Buzia was in exile in Holland, professor at Leiden University in Holland. And one evening, we got information. We had our home. My family had a house in London, North London, Maswell Hill. And Buzia, again, and my family had related from way back. So we got information that he was coming to London and he would call on us to come and visit me. And I lived with my sisters, two sisters, Marianne and Mrs. Campbell Cecilia, the one I come after immediately. And there was also a cousin, Agyekum Kufuor, incidentally, I think she's still alive. The aunt of Mrs. Rawlings lived with us.
So close.
Very close. And so Buzia would visit us. Okay. So we came, of course, in our sitting room, asked the girls were attending to him, and he looked at me and said, what are you doing? So I'm preparing for my finals at the bar. He looked at me. Are you sure? I said, I think I might do it. Said, okay. So after, what do you do? Then just off the cuff, I said, I want to continue at Oxford University. And of course, Buzia was Oxford through and through. From 42, he was a student. Got his PhD from there too. He said, Oxford, which college? I said, Oxford is Oxford, any of the colleges. At that time, Oxford had 35 male colleges and 5 for ladies. It wasn't co-educational in that sense. Mm. So I said, any of the colleges. Then Buzia said, well, I want to quote him. I am University College. I studied at the University College, Oxford. But my rector, or moral tutor, Oxford, every student in those days, I don't know of now, but in those days, every student of Oxford had a moral tutor to sort of guide the student, advise them. My moral tutor there at University College is now the rector, that's the head of college of Exeter College, Oxford. So immediately I shot back and said, so that man is still alive? So yes, he's still there, Professor Casey Ware. So I said, if he's around, then I would want to study under that man. That was 1960.
Yeah.
It was just like family chat. So he giggled a bit, he said, all right. And then, so have you put in your application? I said, I'm doing the finals. I said, do it, and I'll be a referee for you. And so I did, and truly, before long, I got a letter from Exeter College, from that same Professor Casey Ware, Buzia's tutor, to visit, to go to Oxford. And I went, I think late 60. The old man stooped a bit. The rector's lodge opened the entrance himself. Looked at me. So you are Kofi Buzia's boy. And then his remark, Kofi used to write beautiful English. That's what he said of Buzia. So he invited me in and called the law tutor, because then application was for me to continue with the law. The law tutor came in, and they interviewed me, and then law tutor, are you sure you're going to pass the finals? And the results for finals, I think, came out around May or so, 61. And I said, I feel sure, because the work I was doing, I felt I should be able to pass. So then the law tutor shot back. Look, if you pass, you have a place. But if you do not, then I'm afraid So it was a challenge they threw at me. I said, good. They gave me tea, and then they saw me off back to train station to go back to London. As things turned out, thank God, when the results came, I had passed. And even before the results came, I got a letter of an offer, acceptance.
Conditional?
But Buzia, I'm far too divert to tell you, this was how Buzia also came into my life. He was in exile from politics. And when I got back 65 January, things were, when you looked at Ghana society, the economy, everything was not good. You went to, say, Kingsway shop, place was dusty, shelves were empty, the economy was so bad. Ghana had become one-party state. President for life, the pioneering president had become president for life. A whole lot of things. So many people in detention. And so when 66 came, so this is an opportunity. And so...
Okay. So you, again, that puts the pieces together. 69, you found yourself going to Parliament.
Yes.
And at this time you were...
And Buzia had come back.
Okay, of course, after the Kumasi,
yeah. And he was doing the civic education.
National Commission for Civic Education, yes.
And then, so 68, when I got elected for Achuma, I had to represent, or Achuma district, I should say, to represent it at the Constituent Assembly. After deliberations at the Parliament House, we would retire to Buzia's house and at Odoko. That's where we formed the PP, Progress Party. I was a founding member, even before I got to the age 30.
Okay.
I was December.
So we'll be taking a short break. When we come back, we'd like to know from President Kufuor his own experiences in that Parliament of 69, the kind of people he met, the quality of conversations and debates, because he later on superintended over the nation itself, so how he makes a comparison between everything that happened thereafter. So this is still Footprint. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Footprint with President Agyekum Kufuor. Your Excellency.
My friend.
This is beautiful. We are hearing the story.
You say you were not born 66?
No, I
so
was.
My
me and Agyekum are same age.
Look, first born. You are 68 person. Your bulk would give the impression so you are my son.
Yeah.
Because Chief, Nana, Masa, they are older than me.
Agyekum was my year mate in Laboni Secondary School.
Look
so
at that.
We used to come and hide at the back there when you were building the house. So you entered into Parliament.
Yeah.
69 Parliament. You know, of course, you were.
It was a great Parliament, except that. Well, ask your question before I talk. You are making me get.
I would imagine that some people will be intimidated by your presence because you were the boss of Kumasi is also here. It's like,
there were bigger bosses than me.
Oh, really?
69. Buzia himself was there.
Oh, was there?
Pawele, one of the big six, was there. Kwesi Lamte, pioneering politician, was there. So many. Even that's on the government side. Chief Dombo, they were all there. But then across the aisle, we had some set of very smart people. Late Agama, Dr. D.K. Agama, Obeda Samwa, Samoku Jeto, Sharp.
But Obed was with you guys.
Across the aisle was with now.
Oh, okay, now, yeah, okay.
And then Mr. Majite.
The policeman?
Yeah. Was he the first, or commissioner of police, or not the IGP? I think Hale was the first IGP. Majite was head of police, but it was after him that the title IGP was conferred on.
At the time I was just commissioner of police.
But head of the police. And Nkrumah had detained him. But when he came out, he joined with Nal. And when Bedema, who incidentally also nearly married my sister, the two I come after.
Wow.
And so my sister, who was a barrister, lawyer, was when Bedema was in exile. He was with my sister most of it. Well, they were virtually, if you like, partners or whatever. So Bedema too had come to know very well. He knew my home in Kumasi and all that. And in Constituent Assembly, when I was member there, and he was forming his now party, he invited me. He wrote a short note for me. I went to see his house, him in his house around Rangoon Avenue. He was suggesting he wanted me to be in his party. I respected him so much, liked him so much, but I had gathered courage, looked him in the eye, I said, please, fine for you doing me this honor, but I don't think you would win, especially around Kumasi, you wouldn't get it. He looked at me and said, thank you for telling me what you feel. And he allowed me to go.
Wow.
But the relationship remained.
So who was the Speaker of the Parliament then?
The first Parliament, I'm growing older. I think Oleno, Justice Oleno. Another good person, hard-working, clear-headed person was the Speaker. But on the other side from the PP government, we were a big majority, but the debate was so powerful. They researched, and the 2 years we were in Parliament, they didn't give government any rest. Agama, Bedema should have been, but it got disqualified through commissions of inquiry. And so I think leadership fell on, I think, Dr. Agama, who must have been in his 30s. I don't think he was older than
that. This is the same person that became governor of the Central Bank.
Agama, yes. Brilliant man. Very eloquent, very powerful. Let me divert a bit. I'm sure you've heard of Victor Osu being accused of
the statement about
describing the Volta region as inward looking.
Yes, we've heard it.
No, it was Agama who caused the whole trouble. They virtually tripped Victor. Victor had very powerful friends across. Bedema was like a brother of Victor's. Deku, all of them were close with Victor.
Deku was also police, right?
Yes, Commissioner of Police for CID in Nkrumah's time. But as I said, Bedema had been disqualified. So now got formed, and unfortunately it seemed like the membership was concentrated from Volta region, which caused a divide, because the PP had won most of the country, and with now finding itself like limited and hemmed in Volta region, I think there must have been a very bitter feeling among them. And so the leadership of now in Parliament was very harsh. And so there was an occasion, I think it must have been to do with the Salah case or something. And Agama, who could have been perhaps the son of Buzia, stood up. And with Buzia, the prime minister, that time government wasn't presidential, it wasn't the executive president, it was a parliamentary system. Agama stood up, across there, virtually shouting down at Buzia, "You, tribal prime minister of a tribal government," it was terrible. And if you knew Buzia, Buzia sat quiet. So when Agama finished, and Victor Osu being the next senior, after prime minister, next senior man, minister, after the prime minister himself, and Victor, sharp also, as a practicing lawyer, adversarial practitioner, just also shot up. And he was recognized by the speaker, and he tore into Agama. How dare you call the prime minister tribal? Who is more inward looking than you people? And then that's how
it degenerated into
And Victor recited that he had friends all over, and that he had helped, I've forgotten the person's name, this friend from Volta, into some corporates. And within 1 year of that man taking the position, everybody there had become like somebody from his village or somewhere in Volta. And you come here to describe this prime minister and government as tribal. So the whole place just went quiet.
Quiet, yes.
Then soon after, the newspapers picked the whole thing. They wouldn't tell how Victor got into his mood to react. That it was Agama who had virtually insulted the prime minister of Ghana as tribal and all this. So this was it. But it showed the sort of power and vehemence the opposition wielded. And as I said, they did their homework.
Mr. President, we would like to thank you for this account. We will come again. And so this is where we find ourselves. And you've been following President Kufuor giving an account of his own life in Parliament in '69. So this is where we part company for this episode. My name is Samuel Attah-Mensah. You've been watching The Footprint. See you next time.